This may come as a surprise to many of you, but I don't have access to modify every repository that I can find on GitHub. You probably don't have that access either. The way that we can allow ourselves to change the code of a repository we can see, but not modify, is to fork that repository. In doing so, GitHub will create for us a new repository associated with an account or organization we do control. It will keep the connection between the two as well. We'll discuss why that's useful later in the module. For now, let's go find a repository to fork and see what happens. What we're looking at here is the jQuery repository on GitHub. I'd like to point out a few things before we fork this repository. First, take a look at the URL. You'll notice that the URL is jQuery. You'll also notice over here that there is this book icon indicating the repository, as well as the name of the organization and the repository itself right next to it, jQuery and jQuery again. The first question we need to ask is why we want to fork this. Let's assume that we're using jQuery and we have a scenario that we need to modify. And so what we're going to do is we are going to make our own fork of this repository and be able to make our change and then send it back into this or continue using our own custom version of jQuery. Either scenario is possible. So first things first. You'll notice in the upper right-hand corner here that there is a fork button. It has a number of forks of this repository that already exists next to it, and I'm going to go ahead and click on that now so we can get ourselves a fork. It goes ahead and plays this animation while it does the forking process, which will go by very quickly. And it's done already. What you'll notice here is a couple of things. The number of forks of the repository has incremented by 1 if you notice that in the upper right-hand corner. Additionally, you'll notice that we are on a different URL now. This one is associated with the user account I'm using, rather than being on the jQuery organization. The name's reflected here as well, on the left-hand side, next to the project name. There's also a different icon. You'll notice this one has this Y shape. That's to indicate that this is a fork of another repository. Additionally, you can see the information below this that says forked from jQuery, which is a nice convenient link to get us back to the original location. From here, we can go ahead and make a change. We're going to go ahead and change the README file. After I've made this change, I can go ahead and commit it. Now that this change has been made, we can go ahead and do a comparison, and you'll see that while my version has changed, the original version has not. I'm going to go ahead and just modify this address bar so that we can switch to the original location. See how this one still has the original content, and mine does not. And that's how you make changes after forking a repository.